All right, I'm gonna try and keep this short and sweet, even though some of these books are most decidedly not. So here are the 26 books that I want to read in 2026. All of the books that I ended up picking were from my physical TBR because I really want to make more of an effort to be conscious of the books that I'm buying and make sure that I'm actually reading the books that I'm buying, so I'm not buying more and more and filling my shelves with books that I haven't even read. Starting off with number 1, we have Rising Dawn by Beck Michaels. This is the 4th book in the Divine Blood series. I think what's stopped me from picking this up before now is just the fact that it came out so long after the book 3 that I'd kind of lost interest in the series, even though book 3 ended on a cliffhanger. I just haven't reached for this book at all, and I really want to because A, I paid for it, and B, I want to continue the series because I really enjoyed what I've read so far. I haven't reached for it, but I want to make more of an effort to do that in 2026. Book number 2 is Dance of Thieves by Mary E. Pearson. I've heard so many people talk about this book on Instagram and YouTube in years past, and that's why I ended up picking it up. I, again, have not read it. It's been sitting on my shelf. I even made an annotation key for it, and I haven't read it. I've heard this is like enemies to lovers, like really good yearning and banter and things like that. And that is all the things I love in a book. So I definitely want to read this. I read The Kiss of Deception a couple years ago, and it was good, but once the plot twist was kind of revealed, I lost interest a little bit in the story. So I'm hoping that doesn't happen with this book and that I actually enjoyed the writing and the world and the characters and everything like that. Book number 3 is The Book of Azrael by Amber V. Nicole. This is one of those books that Instagram made me buy. One of those like, oh, this is like real enemies to lovers. So we'll find out if the people are lying to me or if this is actually a good book, because the last book that I picked up because they're like, it's true enemies to lovers, it was in fact not enemies to lovers. It was kind of toxic and I did not want to continue the series. I've heard still really good things about it, so I don't know, we shall see. Book number 4 is Invisible Cities by Italo Calvino. I picked this book up when I was at a secondhand bookstore in North Carolina. The cashier said it was a good book and he wanted to reread it, so I was like, okay, say less. Let me pick it up. Book number 5 is The Brothers Karamazov. After telling myself this was going to be one of the classics that I read last year in 2025, guess who still hasn't read this? It's me. I have the audiobook for this. I just never got around to reading it. And I can tell myself that it was because I was working on my thesis and I didn't have time, except I kind of had the whole summer. So what was I doing with my life? But I really will try to read this in 2026. Book number 6 is another classic. It is North and South by Elizabeth Gaskell. This one I've heard compared to Pride and Prejudice, and for those of you who don't know me, Pride and Prejudice is my favorite book of all time. I have like 7 editions of it at this point, which is a bit excessive, I admit. But I just, every time I reread it, I like read a new copy and then I annotate it. Book number 7 is Just Look Up by Courtney Walsh. Courtney is one of my favorite romance authors. She writes clean, spice-free romance. I've read 2 of the other books in this series. It looks like this is a second chance romance, so I'm hit or miss with second chance romances. Book number 8 is The Art of War by Sun Tzu. This is just one of those books that I feel like you have to read at least once in your life, and so they're just kind of little quotes and sayings about war. So if you need to learn how to like disarm your enemies, go read this book. Okay, book number 9 is another chunky book. This is The Complete Sonnets and Poems of William Shakespeare. Now, if my Shakespeare survey class didn't scare me enough from Shakespeare, then I'm sure this will do it. This might be one of those books that I kind of just read over the course of a year, just reading like 1 sonnet a day or something like that. It's just the fact that most of the Shakespeare plays that I have read were for school, so that kind of influences how I feel about them because you're already associating, like you're assigning a negative association to the work because it is for a class you dislike or just school in general. Book number 10 is First Love by Ivan Turgenev. This is another Russian lit story. Can you tell I love Russian lit? So I haven't read any Turgenev before, but this one is where I think a bunch of people get together and they tell stories about their first love. If you know me, you know that I love. Like, I love the romance stories and the kind of analyzing relationships and things like that. I'm sure I will love this one as well. Book number 11 is one that I have been putting off for quite some time now, and that is Rebel Spy by Veronica Rossi. This one was recommended by one of the girls I follow on Instagram at ThatBiblioBabe, and this is one of her favorite books. It has all the elements of things I would love. Spies, it's espionage novels, and I love like spies and learning about kind of the art of like the intelligence agency. So this one is also like a historical fiction. So I think maybe that's why I've been put off from picking it up. I don't hate historical fiction, it's just not the genre that I tend to gravitate toward. I decided to kind of combine books 12 and 13. So we have the next two books in the Bridge Kingdom series. We have The Endless War, which is book number 4, and then The Twisted Throne, which is book number 5. And book number 6 is coming out in 2026. So I really want to make sure that I'm caught up on the series so that I can then finish the series. Book number 14 is another one of those series that I need to continue, and that is Anne of Avonlea. I read Anne of Green Gables a couple years ago now. I bought the second book because I was like, wow, this series is so good. And then I just never picked it up. I love the whimsy of this series and how magical it feels, even though it takes place in real life. There's no magical elements. Book 15 is The Phantom of the Opera by Gaston Leroux. This is another one of those classics that you just have to read once in your life. I've heard so many good things about this story. I really enjoy the musical and the movie. It's my dream to go to Paris one day, and so I'm kind of just like obsessed with everything Paris related. It would be really cool to like read this and then maybe like go to the opera house in Paris where it was inspired. So I think that would be really, really cool. Book 16 is one of those books that I had intended to read for my thesis and then never got around to reading, and that is What Makes Love Last by John Gottman and Nan Silver. I absolutely love John Gottman's books. I think they're very, of course, helpful for people in relationships, but also for people not in relationships. I just have an interest in like romantic relationships and how they work, but also even just for your everyday life, for, you know, things like communication and, you know, expressing interest in the people that you love. Book 17, in a similar vein, is Why Marriages Succeed or Fail and How You Can Make Yours Last, again, by John Gottman. Another book where I think it would just be really good to read this for understanding marriages and kind of how and why and what makes them work. And of course, when you get married, you're in it for life. And so you want to make sure that you're choosing a good partner first and foremost, and then also maintaining that relationship with them so you can have a successful relationship. Book 18 is another one of those series that I just need to finish, and that is Restore Me, or the Shatter Me series by Tahara Mafi. I finished book 3 several years ago now, and then I kept seeing so many people talk about how much they loved the series, and I was like, okay, I hear you, I need to finish it. So I got book number 4, and we're gonna see. Hopefully it still holds up. Read it when I was still a teenager, so... But I'm also kind of scared because I've heard a lot of people say that this is, like, the last 3 books in the series are kind of emotionally scarring. So that's really good. And now I'm kind of scared. Book number 19 is The Gilded Wolves by Roshani Chokshi. I started reading this book in 2025, but I ended up softly DNFing it just because I wasn't really feeling it at the time, and I know it's gonna be good. It's been compared to Six of Crows, and I love Six of Crows. It is one of my top tier 6-star series, so I know this is gonna be good. I just was not in the mood. Book number 20 is one that has been long awaited, and that is Sense and Sensibility by Jane Austen. This is the last full-length Jane Austen book that I need to read. We were going to read it in my British writers class that I'm taking in the spring, but the professor ended up changing the curriculum, so we're no longer reading this, which I'm really sad about. but that's kind of why I had put it off for so long. Okay, we're nearing the end, and book number 21 is Mere Christianity by C.S. Lewis. This is one of those books that is kind of just a staple for so many Christians. It's one that I've been wanting to read for so long. I had started this in high school, but I ended up not finishing it. And honestly, I think it's kind of better that way because I don't know if I would have fully understood what Lewis is getting at. I won't lie and say I don't struggle to read his books because it's a bit of a challenge for me to also like comprehend what he's getting at and what he's saying. In the same vein, we have The Great Divorce by C.S. Lewis. I've seen so many people posting quotes from this book on Instagram lately, and so I kind of took that as my sign to read it. Book number 23 is 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. I'm also trying to read a book from every single country in the world. I did read one of his short stories, which I counted for Colombia. I definitely want to read more of his work. He's very heavy in the magical realism, so that's always like a unique element, and so I'm excited to see how he's going to use the magical realism and kind of play it out in this novel. Book number 24 is The Enchanted April by Elizabeth von Arnim. This is one of those books that I kind of just saw in the bookstore and I was like, okay, that sounds kind of interesting, let me pick it up. And of course it's also a Penguin classic, and I'm a sucker for a good Penguin classic. In this one, it takes place in Italy, which again was a big factor of why I picked it up because I love Italy. It feels like my second home because I studied abroad there for 3 months. Each of these women kind of go to this medieval Italian castle, and there's unexpected changes, as the back cover promises. So we'll see what those unexpected changes are. There's also a movie, which I didn't realize for this book. So I think it could be fun to read the book and then kind of watch the movie. In the same vein as And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie, where a bunch of people are kind of invited to this one island, except I think these women just see an ad in the newspaper and kind of take the offer up. If it's anything like And Then There Were None, obviously without the murder and things like that, it'll be a really interesting read, so we shall see. Book number 25 is Secret or Shutout by Leah Brunner. So this is a hockey romance that was gifted to me for my birthday last year. I really enjoyed Flirtation or Face Off by Leah Brunner. The description of this really piqued my interest, and I enjoyed Flirtation or Face Off. It was a really fun time reading it. I was like cackling while I was reading it. So if this book is anything like that one, then I am in for a good time. Finally, book number 26 is Alchemy of Secrets by Stephanie Garber. I have read Caraval, I've read Once Upon a Broken Heart. Loved both of those series. I thought this one was gonna be like a really good book, and I've heard very mixed reviews. Like I've heard people either love it and they're like, oh my gosh, this is 5 stars, or they're just kind of like, it was a book. So I'm kind of scared now. I should have read it before I started reading other people's reviews. This one is her adult debut, so maybe she just hasn't quite figured out how to go about that. So those were the 26 books that I want to read in 2026. If you read any of these, let me know. Did you like them? Did you not like them? Are any of them on your TBR for 2026? I hope you all have the most amazing reading year of your lives, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye!